You know what I think I'm going to do before the summer's out, brothers and sisters? Do you know what I think I'm going to do before the summer's out, brothers and sisters? You know what I think I'm going to do before the summer's out, brothers and sisters? I think I'm going to have a cookout. Oh, yes. When you come to the grand opening, drop a donation in the box, brothers and sisters. When you come to the grand opening, you must drop a donation in the box, brothers and sisters. When you come to the grand opening, you must drop a donation in the box.
Oh yes, brothers and sisters. Let's talk about Dr. Umar's recent appearance on the Danza Project. Now, I don't usually follow that platform, but I watched this interview for one reason. Umar is once again making excuses. And I'm going to show you clear evidence that he's not genuinely interested in completing this project. That's the reality of it. Instead of addressing that, Umar should be discussing his mental and emotional well-being. How is he maintaining his mental stability? How is he coping with the pressure and stress surrounding his situation? Pay close attention to his response. It says a lot.
I guess for me, the one thing that I just want to finalize is the renovations on the FDMG Academy. You know, we've been almost done for so long, and now we're at the floors, but I'm still scared to say we done, because every time I say we done, something else comes up. So, you know, I ain't been saying nothing. My thing is, when is...
Dr. Umar Johnson has not been honest with his supporters, and he's now admitted it himself. Did you catch what he said? He literally stated, "I don't want to say it's done because every time I do, something else comes up. We're trying to finalize the renovations right now. We're trying to finish this floor." So when he previously claimed the project was complete, that clearly wasn't true. By his own words, he misled his audience, and then encouraged them to keep donating through Cash App. Umar's supporters have already contributed over $2 million, yet all that money has gone toward 2 neglected buildings that still aren't functional. The place remains in poor condition, lacking even basic maintenance. If someone struggles to manage simple upkeep, it raises serious questions about their ability to operate a full institution. At this point, calling it an institution seems misleading. It's more like an abandoned site. Reports suggest that even the plumbing doesn't always work properly. Umar presents himself as working hard on the renovations, but the visible progress doesn't reflect that claim. From the looks of it, the project is far from completion, and it's doubtful it ever will be under his direction. FDMG isn't a functioning school. It's more of an idea than a real organization. It has no staff, no active programs, and clearly lacks basic facilities. Supporters should take a serious look at where their contributions have gone and what has actually been achieved so far.
What I mean, so when we done, that's when I'll do it, man. But we real close. When I fly back home tomorrow, I got to get to the school. They laying the floors now, and
This discussion took place last Wednesday or Thursday, which means by now the floors should have been completed over the weekend. If that were the case, Umar should be doing a live stream or podcast update showcasing the finished work. However, in his most recent video from inside the building, where he talked about making shirts that say, "Where the school's at," he carefully avoided showing the floors. That's quite noticeable, considering those are supposedly being installed right now. And of course, the main question remains: where did the funding for the floors come from? That's an important point, and I also wondered about it. Where exactly is the money coming from to finish this school? Based on reasonable estimates, completing and properly staffing the school with certified teachers, compliance with building codes, and space for around 100 students would require anywhere from $500,000 to a full $1 million. Now, given that it reportedly took about 10 to 15 years to raise roughly $1.6 million, it's worth asking, how many more donations can supporters realistically give? Another factor to consider is the reported $70,000 lawsuit loss to Marianne Loren. Could that financial hit be the reason the floors haven't been completed? Possibly. But even if that lawsuit never happened, I still believe the project wouldn't be done. Umar doesn't seem motivated to finish it, because finishing it would mean real work begins. Once the school is operational, he would need to manage it daily, as principal, teacher, janitor, and security, since he's known for not hiring or paying others. Any future staff would likely be unpaid volunteers. After nearly a decade of claiming the project is down to the floors, there's still no visible progress. How long does it really take to install flooring in a building? At this point, it's clear he continues to make excuses and shift blame. supporters should recognize the pattern. He's setting them up for disappointment once again.
Once that's done, we'd be applying for our certificate of occupancy. That's going to be interesting because the city has not been our friend. They tried to sell the school behind our back last month for some frivolous expenses that we should not have even owed.
Once the current work is completed, the next step will be applying for a certificate of occupancy. That process is expected to be challenging since the city has not been cooperative. In fact, they reportedly attempted to sell the school property last month over what Umar described as unnecessary expenses that he claims shouldn't have been owed. Now, to be fair, this pattern has become familiar. Dr. Umar Johnson often creates what seem like artificial obstacles to justify delays. For instance, he insists that certain conditions must be met before progress can continue, like only hiring teachers of a specific type, or saying he can't open the school until he's married. These kinds of self-imposed limitations appear to serve as excuses for why the project isn't moving forward. Umar seems to construct these fake barriers that prevent him from achieving success. And that aligns with the broader issue many observers have noticed. It doesn't seem like he truly wants to finish the school. The entire situation appears more like a long-term hustle than a genuine educational mission. Because let's be honest, if the project were ever completed, Umar would have to maintain it. That would require full-time work, administration, teaching, staffing, and upkeep. For years, he's managed to avoid that kind of commitment. Despite claiming to be a certified psychologist with multiple degrees and titles, he remains unemployed in the traditional sense. FDMG, the organization tied to his project, functions more like a shell company, collecting donations, but with questionable nonprofit status. It's been reported that he's been barred from fundraising in several states. Now, he's blaming the city again, but those so-called unfair fees are standard charges for owners of long vacant properties. If the building were actually operating as a school, those penalties wouldn't apply. The reality is, that structure looks far from being a functioning institution. Calling it a school is misleading. It's essentially an empty building with a logo. If anything, FDMG as an entity could arguably take issue with how it's being represented. Umar often claims he's almost finished. He's repeated that line for years, saying he won't return to platforms like the Breakfast Club until the school is fully operational. If he's serious about that, then it's safe to assume his appearances there are over. He's already used that almost done narrative on every platform available for nearly a decade. At this point, supporters should reflect on how long they've heard the same promises. The school remains incomplete, yet the appeals for donations continue. This situation has become unbelievable, and it's clear he won't stop unless someone steps in. It raises a real question. Does Delaware have laws loose enough to allow someone to keep operating like this for so long? Every state has some flexibility, but Delaware seems especially lenient in this case. For nearly a decade, Umar has been raising funds for what are essentially abandoned buildings, collecting donations without delivering results. Is Delaware unaware of his history? He's already been barred from fundraising in another state, either Pennsylvania or Virginia, where officials explicitly told him not to solicit funds there again. Delaware should probably consider doing the same. Instead of taking responsibility, he continues portraying the city and state as obstacles. In reality, if the property were seized, at least the community would stop losing money to a project that has gone nowhere. He'll likely reappear on Instagram soon, repeating the same script, urging followers to donate through PayPal or Cash App under the FDMG name, promising events that never happen, talking about grand openings that never occur, encouraging supporters to donate before entering the picnic or hit the Cash App while offering nothing in return. At some point, people need to ask how long they can keep listening to that routine. He is not qualified, financially or organizationally, to run the institution he's been promising. It's not an institution at all. It's a concept tied to a neglected building that has seen little progress. If you appreciate straightforward commentary, don't forget to like and subscribe. Support independent creators who bring accountability and truth to the conversation. Because at this point, it's clear the community deserves better.